I worked 3 jobs for 6 years to fund my husband's dream. I believed in him when nobody else did. I sacrificed sleep, friendships, and my own career so he could build his business from the ground up. And the day I finally discovered what he was really building and who he was building it for was the day I realized I'd been funding my own destruction. My name is Amanda Brooks, and this is the story of how I bankrolled a lie so elaborate it should have won an award, and how I made damn sure the man who betrayed me paid for every single dollar he stole. Let me take you back to where this nightmare began. I met Ryan Mitchell 7 years ago at a coffee shop where I was working my second shift of the day. He was charming, ambitious, and full of dreams about starting his own digital marketing agency. He talked about changing the industry, about building something meaningful, about creating financial freedom for both of us. And I fell for it. I fell for him. Hard. We got married 8 months later in a small ceremony we could barely afford, and I promised him I'd support his vision, no matter what it took. I meant every word. I just didn't know what it would actually cost me. Ryan quit his steady job 2 months after our wedding to focus full-time on his startup. He said he needed to dedicate everything to getting it off the ground, that working a regular job would distract him from building something great. I understood. I believed in him. So I picked up the slack. I worked as a nurse during the day, did medical transcription at night, and picked up weekend shifts at a retail store whenever I could. I was exhausted constantly, running on 4 hours of sleep most nights, but I told myself it was temporary. Once Ryan's business took off, everything would be worth it. Months turned into years. 1 year became 2. 2 became 4. 4 became 6. And every single month, I handed over my paychecks to cover our rent, our bills, our groceries, and Ryan's business expenses. He said he was investing in software, in advertising, in networking events, in everything he needed to make the company successful. He showed me spreadsheets and projections and promises that we were so close to breaking through. Just a few more months, he'd say.
Just a little more time.
Just a little more money. And I believed him. Because I loved him. Because I was his wife. Because I thought we were building our future together. But I started noticing things that didn't add up. Ryan was always busy, always in meetings, always traveling for client consultations that somehow never turned into actual clients. He'd come home, late smelling like expensive cologne I didn't buy him. He'd take phone calls in another room and hang up quickly when I walked in. His laptop was suddenly password protected. His phone was always face down. And when I asked questions, he'd get defensive, accuse me of not trusting him, remind me how hard he was working while I was just following a schedule at my jobs. Just following a schedule. Like working 70 hours a week to keep us afloat was nothing. Like my exhaustion was insignificant compared to his entrepreneurial struggle. But I swallowed my doubts. I pushed down my suspicions. I told myself I was being paranoid, insecure, unsupportive. I told myself that successful entrepreneurs face skepticism all the time, and I refused to be another person who didn't believe in Ryan's potential. Then came the day everything shattered. It was a random Tuesday afternoon, and I'd gotten off my hospital shift early due to a scheduling change. I came home to grab lunch before heading to my evening transcription work. The apartment was supposed to be empty. Ryan had said he'd be at a business lunch downtown. But when I walked in, I heard his voice coming from our bedroom. He was on the phone, laughing, speaking in a tone I hadn't heard him use with me in years.
Soft.
Intimate. Loving. I stood frozen in our hallway, listening to my husband tell someone, "I miss you too, baby. I'll be there tonight." I already told Amanda I have a client meeting in Portland. She won't suspect anything. She never does. My heart stopped. My hands went numb. My entire body felt like it was shutting down. But I forced myself to stay quiet, to keep listening, to hear the complete truth I'd been too blind to see. I know, he continued. Just a little longer. Once I figure out how to liquidate some of her retirement accounts without her noticing, we'll have enough to buy that house you wanted. Then I can finally leave her, and we can start our real life together. 6 years of playing the struggling entrepreneur is exhausting, but it's working. She gives me everything without question. It's honestly impressive how trusting she is. Or maybe just how stupid. I felt my knees buckle. I had to grab the wall to keep from collapsing. 6 years. 6 years of lies. 6 years of funding not a business, but another woman. Another life. Another future that I wasn't part of. Everything I'd worked for, every sacrifice I'd made, every dollar I'd earned working myself to exhaustion, it was all going to her.
To them.
While I destroyed my health and my dreams believing I was investing in our marriage. If you're still with me, and I really hope you are because this gets so much worse before it gets better, go ahead and hit that like button. Trust me, you'll want to see how this ends.
I didn't confront him that day.
I couldn't. I was too destroyed, too shattered, too broken to even form words. Instead, I went back to my car, called in sick to my evening job, and sat in a parking lot crying until I couldn't breathe. Then I stopped crying, and I started planning. Because I realized something crucial in that moment of absolute devastation. Ryan thought I was stupid. He thought I was weak. He thought I'd never figure it out, and even if I did, I'd never have the strength to do anything about it. He was wrong. I spent the next 3 weeks pretending everything was normal while secretly gathering evidence. I hired a private investigator with money I borrowed from my sister. I tracked Ryan's movements. I documented every lie. And what I discovered made my blood run cold. Ryan didn't just have another woman. He had a whole other life. Her name was Vanessa Crane, and she lived in a beautiful townhouse 30 minutes away. A townhouse I was paying for. She drove a car I was financing. She wore jewelry I was buying. Ryan spent 4 nights a week with her while telling me he was traveling for business or attending networking events or meeting with investors who didn't exist. The private investigator gave me bank statements showing exactly where my money went. Not into a business. Into Vanessa's rent. Her car payments. Her credit cards. Vacations they took together. Restaurants where they had romantic dinners while I ate ramen noodles between shifts. For 6 years, I'd been working myself to death to fund their love story while Ryan made me the fool financing my own betrayal. But here's what Ryan didn't know about me. I wasn't just a hardworking nurse. I was a woman who'd learned to survive, to strategize, to fight when cornered. And I was about to show him exactly what happens when you underestimate someone for 6 years. I contacted a lawyer specializing in fraud and marital asset recovery. Showed them everything. The lies. The documentation. The evidence of financial exploitation. They smiled, actually smiled, and told me I had one of the strongest cases they'd ever seen. Because Ryan had made a critical mistake. In his arrogance, he'd put several joint purchases in both our names, including that townhouse where Vanessa lived. He'd forged my signature on documents. He'd committed fraud. And I was about to use every single piece of evidence to destroy him. Before I finish the story, I need you to do something for me. Hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling me what you would have done in my position, because what happens next is the kind of justice that makes everything worth it. I filed for divorce and simultaneously filed criminal charges for fraud, forgery, and financial exploitation. I froze all our joint accounts. I reported the forged documents to the authorities. I contacted Vanessa directly and sent her every piece of evidence showing how Ryan had been using my money to fund their relationship and how he'd been telling her I knew about everything and was okay with it because we had an arrangement. She was horrified.
Betrayed.
Because Ryan had lied to her too, telling her I was essentially his business partner who understood their real love and was fine stepping aside eventually. Within 2 weeks, Ryan's entire world collapsed. He was arrested for fraud. The townhouse was seized as part of the investigation. Vanessa kicked him out and filed a restraining order. His family, who'd spent years praising his entrepreneurial spirit, disowned him when they learned the truth. And the court ordered him to pay back every single dollar he'd stolen from me, with interest plus penalties for fraud. But I wasn't done. I took those 6 years of exhaustion and channeled them into something constructive. I went back to school using the restitution money and got my master's degree in nursing. I specialized in forensic nursing and now work as an expert consultant helping other victims of financial abuse. I make more in 1 month than I used to make in 6 working those 3 jobs. I bought my own house. I built my own life. And I made damn sure that every single person in our community knew exactly who Ryan Mitchell really was. Ryan spent 18 months in prison. When he got out, he was broke, jobless, and completely alone. Last I heard, he's working at a warehouse, making barely enough to cover the monthly restitution payments he'll be making to me for the next 15 years. Those payments? They go directly into my retirement account, the one he tried to steal from. Poetic justice at its finest. My name is Amanda Brooks. For 6 years, I funded a man's dream without realizing his dream was destroying me. But here's what he never understood. You can't break someone who learns to rebuild herself from the ashes of your betrayal. I didn't just survive what Ryan did to me. I transformed it into power, into purpose, into a life so successful it would kill him to witness. And every month, when that restitution check hits my account, I'm reminded that the woman who worked 3 jobs to support a liar became the woman who built an empire from his lies. This is what happens when you underestimate someone. This is what happens when you think love makes someone blind. And this is what happens when the woman you betray decides she's done being the victim and becomes the villain in your nightmares instead. Ryan wanted to build something great on my back. I built something greater on his grave. And that's the revenge I'll live with happily for the rest of my life.